Everybody, we are live. We have a special live coming to you at 2 p.m. Central Time on Valentine's Day, January 14th, 2023. And this is an update on the channel for the ION hack and the CFTC data and why we cannot get appropriate data out on the markets, the trade data. We're going to do a quick sound check. Sound is good. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll get into the updates. We'll get into all that. I'll have a refresher and recap on the last video we did last week on this. I'll have some caveats to this, some speculation, some facts that we know, and we're just going to kind of keep you guys updated as this goes along. I personally think this is gigantic. I'm hoping that other people pick up on how gigantic that is, which is why I'm going to continue reporting on that. Let me do another quick sound check. All right, as a reminder, guys, if you guys wish to support us on the program, we do have a membership here. Please click on the membership option here on your screens and in the description if you want to sign up for that. A few dollars a month helps us to continue to provide this type of data that you will see nowhere else on the market on this channel, as well as the second option actually supports us more and gives you an additional product that is access to the unfiltered section for our channel. And what we talk about there, we do have a free video out on the channel, video 0, the unfiltered series, which does talk about what that unfiltered series is and does give you our mind map about the things that we talk about. And the things that we talk about there, you can only get there. And that's a benefit of the membership option. Okay, now moving on to the poll. We do a poll every time we do a live stream. This poll is titled, "Who is ultimately responsible for the security breach at ION regarding commodities trading data?" And the 4 options are ION, which is the data and trade firm, CFTC, which is the regulator, the CME Group, which provides the trade platforms, Globex, which I'll show you here in a moment, or all of the above. So far, 79% all of the above, and early voting, 14 votes, 14% ION, 7% CFTC, none to the CME Group, which I find interesting. We'll get into who should be responsible, not responsible, or who should just be participators in this entire process. Please vote in the poll if you haven't already. All right. Also, a quick announcement before we get into this one. We're going to try doing these live streams during the day on Tuesdays from now on, because we do have people overseas that like to attend these and participate, as well as we want to make it accessible to people that watch these during the day. And just remember, if you can't make it to the live and the live chat, we have the comment section below. You can still view this after the live presentation anytime you want, like when you get home in the evening. Thank you, JT Coin Rings, for the contribution and being a part of the chat. We appreciate that. Super chats are open, guys, if you want to get my attention and ask questions. Guaranteed that I will respond to you in some way, hopefully positively, when you do a super chat. All right, with all of that stuff out of the way, let's get started talking on what is going on. There is a lot to present here. We're going to throw it up on screen. I'm just going to walk you through it. Again, a few more updates, but also we're going to fill in with some additional information on this and some of my additional thoughts as we go along. Disclaimer before I put this up on the screen, I'm going to show you what's being reported via other outlets. I do not take responsibility for what's in those other outlets, and this applies to both this video that we're doing today on the 14th, as well as the video we did last Thursday as well on IAM, where it talks about ION attack. I'm just providing data as it's provided to me. I realize in these types of investigations, we don't always have all of the information that we need to make judgments. I want to caution on us making any judgments just off the data we have. And that's why I do this speculative session of these videos, is to talk about other possible scenarios that we can think about in our heads so that we don't maybe jump to the wrong conclusions. But at the same time, we're asking the right questions to try to get to the full and unfettered truth. And that's what we're doing here. We're also doing this in line with our Bill of Rights, rights basically to freedom of speech and to assemble. We're assembling online, and fair use rights in the code as well, to access information publicly online and to talk about that. Okay. Also, I'm not a registered investment advisor. I don't work on these systems. I just follow and track them. I'm just doing journalistic reporting here. I do have experience working on cyber attacks and on risk management, pen testing, vulnerability management, other functions within the cybersecurity space for different corporations, and as a consultant as well. And I do have a master's in the field. So I do have some qualifications to talk about cybersecurity, specific to cybersecurity, as well as you guys have seen my reports, my blogs, and videos for the last 12 to 13 years on the market. So I'm going to be relying on that for purposes of this. All right, with all of those disclaimers and stuff done there, let's jump right into the presentation. And I'm going to make sure we're getting the right thing up on screen. Here we go. All right, so we're going to start off just at the CFTC webpage. with their introduction and classification methodology for the commitment of traders reports. So the commitment of traders report is information that's not available, and I'll show you that here in a moment. But here, right on the CFTC's website, they talk about this stuff, and they talk about how they compile it. I'm just going to read that to you so that we can get a fair idea of what the CFTC is doing and what we should expect them to do with respect to the commitment of traders data. So it says here, the Community Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, publishes the commitment of traders reports to help the public understand market dynamics. Specifically, the COT report provides a breakdown of each Tuesday's open interest for futures and options on futures markets in which 20 or more traders equal to above the reporting levels established, blah, blah, blah. They release the weekly COT reports in static format to support the historic usage patterns of industry professionals. I'm going to skip down here. In October 2022, CFTC began publishing weekly and historical report data within a public reporting environment to support industry professionals needing to blah, 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 customize search filter. So they're providing this to help industry professionals with market data according to their own website. So if you want to know if it's important, well, the CFTC says it's important, and this is part of what they're supposed to do, and they've been doing it. And if you want to see all the reports, it's on their website. The long, short format, futures only, futures and options combined, all of this stuff is here, and a lot of these reports have been delayed. Before I get further into why the reports are there, I just want to show you they're delayed. Live on their website, this is for the metals. So you've got platinum, palladium, silver, gold, platinum's at top here, palladium's at top, and then platinum. And the latest day is January 24th. So we know it's affecting those four metals. This is wheat, delayed COT reports for wheat, delayed COT reports for another wheat, for another wheat, for another corn contract, for a rough rice. I'm looking up here in the upper left of each table. Lean hogs, live cattle, feeder cattle, butter, milk, non-fat dry milk, CME milk, cheese, and it says which of the four markets this CME Group runs. Each of these are settled on. There's four. Soybeans, soybean oil, soybean meal, USD Malaysian crude palm oil, canola oil, cotton, concentrated orange juice, cocoa, ICE futures, sugar, number 11, coffee. Another report, which is only reporting through January 24th, marine fuel oil, USGC HSFO energy. It's a type of energy. I don't know what that is. It's in barrels. It's some sort of petroleum product, probably. Please, someone tell me. I'm just going down the list. I don't trade all these or trade any of them. Fuel oil, more Brent. This has to do with Brent crude oil. New York Harbor distillate, I think, some sort of distillate. More energy, ethanol is type of energy, ethanol, crude oil, crude. A lot of their crude contracts, their WTI, which is another market in addition in the oil space, WTI oil, and then Brent's another, Brent, WTI Houston, Midland, gasoline, Gulf Coast, CBOB gas, Gulf Jet, New York heating oil, marine, Brent, Gulf fuel oil crack. Okay. Another report delayed January 24th, natural gas, SoCal border fin bases, some sort of energy. I don't know. Procter Gamble and PG&E. I don't know. Citygate. I don't want to say what this isn't, but all this stuff in here. And this is the energy division, ICE Futures energy division. So all these energy products, I don't even know what half of them are. More energy division, midday ahead peak, some sort of oil probably, Western Hub, all these. And then we get into the trader position. So there's a separate port where they report trader positions and certain things. This is positions in the Canadian dollar, the Swiss franc. These are all currencies, British pound, Japanese yen. This is all delayed as well. So this is currency trading, ladies and gentlemen. This is, if you get in the space at seriously commodities license, at least when I did it many years ago, it doesn't apply to me now. But these are all the things, the currencies, the commodities, all governed by that. Look at all of these. Energy index, S&P minis, all of these are delayed to January 24th. So it's not just the metals. But read through and let's see how they do it. The COT reports are based on position data. Listen to this. Supplied by reporting firms, clearing members, foreign brokers, and exchanges. Why does the CFTC not have a direct feed into Globex so that they get this data? Why is the CFTC getting this from outside parties, FCMs, clearing members, foreign brokers, and exchanges? The exchange, maybe a CME Group, maybe they are getting it. But if they are getting it, why are all of these delayed, dating back over 2 weeks, if they're getting multiple feeds of data and they could do this themselves? It seems as though the ION issue has caused a reporting issue with the CFTC across their products. Every single long form report, I pulled every long form report, or most of these, a big section of them. There are more than what I pulled and showed them to you. They're all delayed. So if you go back to the CFTC and they say we're getting it from multiple places, including the exchange, which I'm assuming is CME Group, where the Globex and where the actual exchange is, it's the platform, then why, if one group gets cyber attacked in ION, can they not put this data together? There obviously is some sort of dependency upon ION as an external firm where the CFTC doesn't feel as though they can get a portion of this data. Now, maybe they get some of the data and not the other. Maybe ION is just specific trading data to their firms, which for some reason CME Group doesn't have or the CFTC doesn't have. I don't know, but that's a big question. I don't get this really. I don't understand why this is an issue. I don't understand why CFTC doesn't have its own secure feed. I think that's maybe a governance issue with the CFTC at this point. I don't know, but that to me is just a wee bit confusing. Just a wee bit confusing, but okay, CFTC. While the position data is supplied by reporting firms, the actual traded category of classification data is based on the predominant business purpose. So in other words, the classification of the data is owned by the CFTC. It makes sense. Nobody else can do the classification scheme. But why is the data supplied by reporting firms? And why doesn't the CFTC have that data straight from the trading market to confirm that the data supplied by the reporting firms is correct? Maybe they do, and maybe they're trying to match their data with ION's data, and they're not putting it up. But if they have the data, just put it up. What in ION's data does the CFTC not have? I don't know. They're not clear here, but it's obvious here. They're admitting that some of the data they need is reported by clearing firms. So if ION gets cyber attacked, they can't provide the data on their website, which is blatantly obvious because it's not here across all of these markets, not just metal, but agricultural, financial, all, energy, all these products. So obviously the CFTC does not have their own independent data, which calls into question not only the COT data, but when we go back to them monitoring the reporters' trades, and that conversation I had with Matthew Hunter, assuming he was who he said he was, when he showed up at Silver Symposium and gave and stood at representing himself as a former member of the CFTC responsible for a lot of these investigations into trading, including spoofing and other things. He went on there saying he was the guy, and I interviewed him, put him on my channel, and he said, we have the data, we have the scheme, we don't have enough people to process it, but I'm wondering if they even have the right data to do their own internal investigations in terms of the actions of the traders. If you go back to those videos. So I think at some point, I'm going to put all my concerns with the CFTC into one fell place, linking together all of these concerns. I'm not going to do it just yet because this video is more on the ION cyber attack. So we'll get more into it. But obviously there's issues with potential issues. Let me put it this way. Potential issues with custodianship of that data. Who owns it? Why? All of that information. Does the CFTC have their own completely independent, lockdown, confirmed, accurate set of data from the trading platform CME Group? I'll show you where CME Group provides that data. CFTC could simply, as the regular, pay for it and get that data, or they could exercise their regulatory capabilities and say, well, you may be providing the platform, you give us the data for free because we're the regular. I would think that they could do that, like legally. I don't know. Part of the issue is we don't understand the relationship between the platform provider, Globex, the market participants that the CFTC is saying they get their data from, and the CFTC themselves. We don't have the data flow. So because they haven't really published that and you're having to search around and try to figure this stuff out, or at least I haven't seen it. I've looked, maybe I missed it. Apologies to CFTC and CME Group if they have this all in a easily recognizable, visible format with data flow diagrams and everything. I don't see that, and I wouldn't expect them really to put that out there. You don't necessarily want that out there from a security perspective, but since we don't have it, and since the CFTC is not sharing that, nobody's sharing that, we can only speculate on where the data comes from, but it does call into question pretty seriously Where's the source data? What is the chain of title and chain of custody over that data? Are there the proper governance controls in place and tactical controls, actual physical and logical security controls? Does the CFTC have its own cybersecurity division that deals with this? Do they rely not only on the data being provided from external firms, but also those firms doing their own cybersecurity best practices, and whether those firms are adhering to that or not? And does the CFTC have governance over that? They should. If the trading data and the reporting of such is being put on external firms, shouldn't the regular CFTC have governance over that? If not, who does? Is it some sort of cybersecurity function within the US government? I don't know. It's really unclear. It though does appear that there are maybe some challenges between the market providers, the CME Group, which has the platform, and the CFTC, the regulator, in the governance of data and the chain of title, the chain of custody of the data itself. That there's some concerns there, and there's more information that needs to come out for us really to understand how that works. Due to legal constraints, CEA, which was an act passed, I think, to establish a CFTC, if I remember correctly, Section 8 and confidential business practices, the CFTC does not publish information on individual traders. So if you're wondering why the COT reports are aggregated, and I always talk about this, we don't have the individual ledger transactions, is because there is anonymity in the system to protect the traders in regulation. I'm going to show you that here in a moment. That is legitimate from what I found. And that's it. And there, it goes into all the stuff. We've shown you the reports that still aren't up there. Now I'm going to go into where this is significant, because the CFTC basically has said on their website, that's that February 10th, which I'll go over in a moment, that basically things were, getting close to operating normal. Only a few people were affected. We'll get into that in a moment, but I think the world disagrees, because there's more articles here on how this is affecting the markets, and listen to who is reporting on this and who it affects. And so I'm going to call into serious question the CFTC's own reporting on the fact that this may be not such a big deal, by looking at all of these articles. And by the way, if we want to figure out why this is not such a big deal, here is the February 10th update from CFTC on this. Now, I looked right before the presentation on their news section. I didn't see any additional press releases on this. This appears to be the latest one. As of February 14, 2023, 2-ish p.m. Central Time when I looked, a few minutes before we went on broadcast. And it says here, staff of CFTC released the following statement. Although the impact of cyber-related incident ION has been mitigated, okay, they say has been mitigated. The risk has been mitigated to the point it's no longer an issue. This is in the CFTC's February 10th press release. Firms are responsible for reporting are continuing to experience some issues with respect to the submission and timely and accurate data to the CFTC. As a result, the weekly Commitment of Traders report will be delayed. A report will be published upon receipt and validation of data from those firms. Further, CFTC staff recognizes there remain impacts, to some reporting firms due to incident and ION. Well, if it's been mitigated, why are there still impacts? And why is the CFTC still not able to report on the data? It says January 24th. If it's been mitigated, what does that mean? Does that mean that you paid the ransomware and you've got the data and you're just not publishing it? Why is the data taking so long to come out? Are there other concerns? I'll get into those other concerns in a moment. Blah, 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 blah. So they're saying, not such a big deal. Well, let's look at what the rest of the world says. According to Bleeping Computer, which talks about security and tech issues, established RAG here, or I shouldn't say RAG, site in the industry. They're talking about the ransomware group on ION. The Lockbit ransomware gang has claimed responsibility for the cyber attack on ION Group, a UK-based software company whose products are used by financial institutions, banks, and corporations for trading, investment management, and market analysis. On January 31st, 2023, the firm disclosed the incident in a short statement saying that it impacted ION Clear Derivatives, a division of ION Markets. So look at this date, January 31, 2023. That's 7 days after the last release of data. If ION is reporting this on the 31st, that means the attack had gone on prior to that. I question whether the data in this CFTC COT report, January 24th, is accurate or not. If they can't release a new report and the attack happened or was reported 7 days after the last report was released, then that seems to indicate that some of this data may be compromised as well. It's possible that the data the CFTC has already put out, depending on when the cyber attacker had attacked Ion, this data may be incorrect and wrong. And I'll show you, and I'll talk about that. So I'm going to come off the share for a moment and just come on screen and explain that. In the cybersecurity world, or information security, information assurance, whatever you want to call it, there's something called the CIA triad. In fact, let me look up something for CIA triad and put this up on screen so you guys, we're going to do it from Tech Target, an established magazine. We're going to talk about CIA triad. So bear with me for a moment. We're going to talk about cybersecurity for a second, and then I'm going to get back into what's going on here at the CFTC. So if we look at the CIA triad, there are, what is it basically? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability, CIA. Also known as a CIA triad is a model, and it's an information security model designed to guide policies on information security within an organization. The model is also sometimes referred to as the AIC triad, availability, integrity, and confidentiality, to avoid confusion with the Central Intelligence Agency, but we all call it CIA triad. So information security people look at this, and these are the three things they need to do with relation to, or with respect to, data, to make sure that data is being used correctly and it is correct in and of itself. You have confidentiality, which is roughly equivalent to privacy, but it also means that the data wasn't shared with somebody that shouldn't have it. It's confidential, it's protected. Then you have integrity, which means it's consistent, accurate, and trustworthy, meaning somebody hasn't modified the data itself. Not that it's been found out, but they took a number and changed to another number, or whatever the case may be. Availability means it's available, because information is not useless unless it's available. So the attack, the cyber attack on Ion, the CFTC and other organizations are talking about it from an availability perspective. It's not there. We don't have the data. It's not available. That's the A part of the CIA triad that all information security professionals look at. I'm talking about, what about confidentiality and integrity? If Lockbit had compromised those systems, how do we know that they hadn't shared that with someone else and reduced confidentiality, and including the transactional level data, apparently the Ion would have to have, because they're doing this for the customers. So they would have transactions. So at least Ion's customers' transactions data would have been in there, and confidentiality is a concern. What about integrity? What about that data actually being correct? What about this data not having been linked to other people in the market that could use that information to make subsequent trades going on right now that could compromise integrity of the markets? That would be confidentiality of the data from the CIA triad. And if the integrity is messed up, it could also mean that these numbers are wrong and all market participants are trading on wrong numbers. Think about the dates. It was reported on January 31st. This is up to January 24th data. It's that Tuesday's data from the previous week, right? It's what the CFTC said on their website. How do we know that the attack wasn't there before affecting that data? And we don't have that information. So how do we know? So that is part of the issue. Part of the issue is we don't know that the integrity of that data is sound. We don't know that the confidentiality of that data is sound. Another sound check. Sound's going strong. Thank you guys for participating. I'm not monitoring the contents too much, although we just did have the one super chat. So I think we're okay. Going back into the presentation. And again, this is going to be a non-sponsored presentation. I don't want to do a sponsor on this one. We won't talk about, sponsored program. We're just talking about information here. Well, Cybersecurity Insiders has a report. Naveen Goud, Lockbit ransomware attack on Ion, a serious cyber attack that took place on the servers of trading software service provider named Ion is said to have affected its operations deeply, as the entire communication network was paralyzed for hours. Second paragraph. Several of trading clients took to their Twitter accounts to express their anger over the disruption and urge the company Ion to safeguard its IT infrastructure well in advance from digital invasions. Now, this is different than what the CFTC says. The CFTC said this didn't really affect that many traders, but we've had reported in our Thursday report, one of our news articles that we showed you reported that traders had taken to Twitter, and now this is the confirming source. So like if you're an auditor, you want to try to look at least two sources. So that's the second source that said traders have expressed frustration, counterdicting or going the opposite direction from what the CFTC has said. Well, it's not really such a big deal. So I think it's pretty clear at this point that it is a big deal, because now we've had two magazines stating that trading professionals have taken to Twitter to express their frustration, not one trading professional, multiple. And now we've seen that reported on two distinct, different online reputable reporting organizations. So is the CFTC right, or the traders right? Because the traders are reporting it's seeing the news. I think the traders are right, not the CFTC. I think you have to take the traders' word on it there. And it said, Lockbit ransomware is said to have encrypted the database of the financial data group ION Markets. However, an official communication is awaited. There is an official communication from ION. It's very brief. And ION and CFTC, from what I've seen, joint, and the communications come out and said that this didn't affect that many. But if it didn't affect that many, how come all these reports are out of date? And how come all of these mags are talking about it? We're going to get to the Wall Street Journal in a moment. Okay, yes, it's reached the Wall Street Journal, but I'm saving that one because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the gift that keeps on giving. We're not done yet. Going to the Insurance Journal. No, the Insurance Journal reporting on a cybersecurity incident for ION? Really? Okay, why would an insurance journal? Let's talk. Let's read this one. This is on February 7th. Mark Burton, Isis Almeida, Insurance Journal, establishing 100 years. They've been in business since 1923. Sounds like a reputable organization. ION Trading, the technology firm, was hit by cyber attack last week, told some clients had rebuilt relevant systems and will relaunch them after carrying out independent security testing. ION indicated that some systems could be available Monday. That would have been this past Monday. But it may be available, some systems, but we're not getting the updated data. So they're not done fixing it at ION yet, despite what press releases say, because if they were, this would have come out and said it. This would come out and have the updated data. They're not quite there. They're working through it. Give the security people some time to figure it out. They're doing the right thing. But this is probably a little bit bigger of an event than the CFTC and ION originally let on, just from the timing of it, which is understood. That's okay. That's not a criticism. We're just trying to bring truth to the process. That's all. Truth to the process. The process of bringing clients back online will be staggered. It's likely to take place over several days, said the people. So we know from ION, or this report from Insurance Journal, which reached out to ION, but there's also data from Bloomberg. So this may be a reposted story from Bloomberg. It's got Bloomberg right here. But it's basically saying it'll be staggered. The people asked not to be identified discussing private information. And cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike has been involved in testing these systems. So CrowdStrike's a pretty big company. If it were a little thing, they wouldn't have brought CrowdStrike on. CrowdStrike is known in the industry for getting involved in a lot of these cyber attacks, especially as it relates to any sort of government institution. It's one of the favorite firms. It's also used in industry as well. No surprise, when you bring on a CrowdStrike on, that means it's pretty serious. Honestly, that's what that means. One impacted brokerage, StoneX Financial, so this has not been reported anywhere else, at least we haven't, said it expected to be provided with a newly built system on Monday, according to a note to clients seen by Bloomberg. Yeah, this was published on Bloomberg on some time back. As we work to return full service, it may take longer than usual to process some payment and transfer requests. I think this is actually February 6th, not January. That's a typo. StoneX told clients, we appreciate your ongoing patience. Reactivating systems. Last week, an attack on ION upended derivatives trading around the world. Don't let anybody tell you this is not significant. Around the world. Around the world, forcing a number of banks and brokers to process certain trades manually and drawing the attention of government agencies and regulators. Lockbit, the hacking group behind the attack, said Friday that a ransom had been paid. This is the second source I've given you that says they believe the ransom had been paid and that the gang provided the decryption key to unlock the compromised computers. ION has declined to comment from the ransom. So we don't have confirmation from ION, but two separate magazine or places online are reporting that. We don't know, but I'm just reporting what's been reported. Again, fair use of existing materials and Bill of Rights, freedom to assembly, and freedom of free speech. That's my disclaimer. I'm just reporting what's been reported. ION has been working with 2 template clients to reactivate key trade processing. So they're giving more data on how they're doing it. Listen to this kind of reporting. The Bloomberg got this. 6 out of 33 recovery steps have been fully completed, and the remainder are between 79 and 95% complete, ION told clients. So ION is doing some things to get it good for ION. But now you get an idea of how far they were. The FIA. Who is the FIA? The FIA is the leading, about us. The leading global trade organization for the futures, options, and centrally cleared derivatives markets. Global trade organization with offices in Brussels, London, Singapore, and Washington, D.C. They picked up on the story. Let's make this a little bit bigger for you guys to read. FIA is aware of network issues caused by cyber incident at certain ION Group systems, which are impacting the trading and clearing of exchange-traded derivatives by ION customers across global markets. That's the third publication that's covered this and has issued an official press release that's mentioned global markets. We are working with impacted members, including clearing firms and exchanges, as well as market regulators and others, to assess the extent of impact upon trading, processing, and clearing. FIA is coordinating communication and information sharing through regular calls and relevant parties. So they've got their whole crisis team, security response team, it appears, working on this. They've listed resources, head of global industry operations, vice president and clearing, because this is not a big deal, even though one of the, according to About, leading global trade organizations for futures, options, and centrally cleared derivatives had put head of global industry operations on it, vice president of clearing, and have got the response team on it, writing press releases. But yeah, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Not a biggie, guys. Forget all of these industry trade groups and traders and stuff saying this is a big issue. We don't want to listen to them. Let's just listen to the CFTC. Okay. Although it's been mitigated, not a big deal. Don't worry. Except for everybody else in the world is saying, well, maybe there's reason to worry. And we've got our teams working on this response. And here are all the head of our this and that you can contact. But don't worry, because the CFTC says it's been mitigated. Who you believe in here, folks? Has it been mitigated? Now, we have to look at the timing of all this stuff. Maybe it's been mitigated now. This was on the February 1st, but that is not long ago. It's less than 2 weeks. But we still don't have the report, CFTC. ION still hasn't finished their steps yet, CFTC. So are we sure that we're there yet? I'm not so sure. Well, here's Bloomberg, UK's national. Okay, listen to this. It's not a big deal except for the UK's National Sovereign Cybersecurity Center is looking into the ION hack. It's not an issue, ladies and gentlemen, but the Sovereign UK National Cybersecurity Center is looking into it. But don't worry, because the CFTC says it's mitigated, it's no big deal. But the freaking free world Sovereign UK National Cybersecurity Center, for all things, including, attacks on military infrastructure, ground infrastructure, anything related to the health, safety, and well-being of the UK people, is now involved in this investigation. But don't worry, because our CFTC says, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. We got it covered. I don't know. Is this a big deal? I don't know. Ask the UK's National Cybersecurity Center whether it's a big deal. The National Cybersecurity Center, part of UK intelligence agency. The government communications headquarters is part of the growing number of government bodies examining the cyber attack at ION Trading UK. Number of global government bodies, according to Bloomberg. But that's right, CFTC. It's not a big deal. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Right? Right? What about the Wall Street Journal? Cyber attack on ION derivatives unit had ripple effects on financial markets. This is Wall Street Journal Pro. They're making it free because it's that big of a darn deal. Last week's ransomware attack showed big financial firms can also be harmed by breaches at fintechs and other third parties. That will be ION, the fintech or the third party providing that data, ostensibly to the CFTC and other market participants, that provide even small pieces of the technical machinery underlying the markets. This is where we call into question the governance from the CFTC and the CME Group, whoever's responsible for this, because obviously this is a risk. And it's making the UK National Cybersecurity Center, it's making Wall Street Journal, it's making insurance journals, it's making cybersecurity insiders, the leading global trade organization in the world, supposedly FIA. Yeah, but don't worry, because the CFTC says it's not a big deal, guys. And of course, ION's going to say that too. Oh, yeah, we got it covered. Don't worry, guys. Well, of course they're going to say that. Let's read the story. Here are screens in different languages that were affected, according to Wall Street Journal. Again, global. Say it again, global. All right. A ransomware attack on technology company that helps underpin the financial markets gave the sector a preview of the havoc a large-scale attack might inflict. Thank you, Wall Street Journal. I don't have to speculate. It's the Wall Street Journal speculating. You guys thought I was maybe off my rocker last Thursday. Rob, why are you making such a big deal? Because Everybody's making a big deal, including the UK's national cybersecurity, Wall Street Journal, insurance rags, FIA, supposedly the leading, trading for blah, 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 blah. but don't worry. You listen to the CFTC and it's not a big deal, guys. The cyber attack of a cleared derivatives unit of double and base ion trading technology sent financial institutions scrambling to confirm trades manually after January 31st, when the strike occurred and the firm took its systems offline. ION builds software that automates the matching of both sides of a trade and clearing transaction. Listen to this. This is from the Wall Street Journal, ladies and gentlemen, not from me. The incident showed how even banks and other financial companies with polished disaster plans and mature cybersecurity must assess how ready their business partners, counterparties, fintechs, any company it has technical links to, are to weather outages, said Samit Shabria, chief executive of consulting firm ThoughtLinks Group. A CEO of a separate group that's part of a consulting firm is saying what I said. He's confirming what I said about the governance of third parties, and the CFTC and our government and any group like the CME Group, which runs these markets, has a responsibility for, and we are citizens and we pay taxes for this infrastructure. So even if some of these third parties are independent and private, it does not matter. They fall within the scope of these markets, which are regulated by legislation, by the CFTC, and they're responsible ultimately to the people of these United States to report on what's going on, period. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. I think the Wall Street Journal does too. It's a stark reminder of vulnerabilities in supply chains and third-party resilience. You're as good as your weakest link, said Mr. Shabria, who formerly held senior technology positions at Megabank, HSBC Holdings PLC, and Bank of America. You think he knows? You think the banks get attacked in the U.S. around the world? You think they know what a good security program is? I can tell you, because I had friends that worked at the banks, and they had some of the most advanced security in the world, because our reports in cybersecurity for about 10 years straight ran that the banks were getting attacked more than anybody else, with a few exceptions. And there was a period of 3 to 4 years there when the banks were taking it big time. And so they had to develop really robust and strong cybersecurity programs. And I know the people that work there, and most of them are pretty damn good. They're not foolproof, but they're pretty damn good. And this guy used to work for him, and he knows, and he's telling you what the responsibility is from the CFTC, ION, and whether or not the CME Group is related, I don't know, but they provide the platform. So somewhere in this data flow, they're in there somewhere. ION didn't respond to the Wall Street Journal for requests for comment and where it's fully restoring its system. The incident also illustrated how an attack on one piece of the market's infrastructure can quickly gum up the gears. After ION disconnected its servers, the U.S. CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Commission, said it closely watched report on how traders are betting on commodity prices would be delayed owing to problems with data submissions. They're admitting their problem with data submissions. It advised the largest trading firms, which are required to submit daily activity reports, to make their best estimates and revise them later. If they're making estimates and revising them later, that's probably why the COT report's not out yet. What part of your business continuity plan, your BCP, and your disaster recovery plan, your DR, BCP DR, is the CFTC falling down on? What is a BCP DR? Gee, we had them in industry. It's standard for any company to have them. ION should have one. CME Group should have one. CFTC should have one. And personally, in your own personal life, you should have one too. I'm calling that into question because of what's being reported on the Wall Street Journal, one of the most respected financial newspapers in the world. The Futures Industry Association, that will be this person we just quoted, a lobby for large derivative trading houses, said it was coordinating calls with market participants. Well, if it's not a big deal and it's only ION, why does the FIA, a lobby, have to call more than one market participant? Part of the problem stems from how trading works. Without systems, listen to this. Without systems to match both sides of a trade, banks and brokers are forced to call exchanges and their affected trading partners to marry the trades together by transaction identifiers and other data and account for them. So the CME Group, I assume, who's running the exchange to the Globex, is the one facilitating this now. That's why I'm bringing them into it. Because when the data from the third parties get screwed up, where do you go to? The platform. So why isn't the CFTC going to the platform? Why don't they already have a feed from CME Group to validate all of what's being reported by these third parties to make sure they're reporting it correctly? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We don't have that information. But if they do, why can't they just update the report and say, we will validate what the trader said Maybe they don't. Maybe the part of the process is to take that CME Group trading platform data, marry it to the traders. And if it doesn't match, they take the traders of a CME. I would think CME Group is the ultimate, but I don't know what in format that data is. So I don't know. We don't know. We don't have the data flow diagrams. But obviously there's an issue here. One firm got attacked and it's affecting the trades of everybody on that market. Everybody has been reported by independent, outlets, which I'm reporting. So if you thought that I was, overstating this on Thursday, everybody else is saying the same thing. It's not me. Look, it's right there. It's right there. Years ago, banks employed large numbers of people who specialize in doing that work. Now it's mostly automated. And this is what, when we went through our 3 videos with Matthew Hunter, who said he was part of the CFTC, represented himself at a conference, and I interviewed him. He said that mostly it's automated and they've taken the people away. Okay. And that's where he was doing investigations into traders. And that's in separate videos. I won't go over that here, but we'll summarize it later when I do a summary video for the CFTC. While financial services are regarded as the most sophisticated critical infrastructure sectors, industry observers have long feared what a cyber strike could do to that. Derivative markets handle exchange trade and over-the-counter contracts that are collectively worth trillions of dollars every year. If you think that this doesn't affect a lot more than just a couple of firms, trillions of dollars move through these markets. Trillions with a T. These securities are used to manage risk for owners, ranging from farmers trying to protect themselves from volatile crop prices to multinational corporations managing their foreign exchange. Foreign exchange? Did somebody say foreign exchange? Did we have a report here in which foreign exchange, we don't, it's not updated as January 24th. You don't think that that affects the currency markets? Are the currency markets a big deal here in the U.S.? Oh, heck if I know. Wall Street Journal seems to think so. A cyber attack that successfully froze a key part of the plumbing could bring markets to a halt. January 24th. Still trading, but it really slowed them down, didn't it? One cyber attack on one firm, supposedly. Big financial companies, stock exchanges, and Wall Street banks, among others, have strict standards governing their operational risk. In December, the Federal Reserve consulted on draft rules for clearinghouses to enhance such protections, including cybersecurity. Did the CFTC do this? I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe there's a press release. Maybe I'd missed it. And good if they have. Good if you have. But obviously, it wasn't all in place, especially with the third party. So that's something that needs to be worked on. Not only cybersecurity stance, but also business continuity, BCP, and DR disaster recovery as well. Yet few such rules exist for tech companies that run the services, utilities, and software that also keep the market humming, said Boaz Gelboard, Chief Security Officer at security firm Akamai Technologies. Akamai Technologies is a major security firm, big one. For these suppliers, cyber standards are often imposed informally by large customers rather than government rules. Let me read that to you again. With regard to the CFTC and their regulation of the firm ION, this is the opinion of a professional firm, Akamai Technologies, about the CFTC's likely relationship with ION and its other third market providers and how they govern cybersecurity. And this is also backed up because this is what I saw in industry as well. My experience told me this is very true. Few rules exist for the tech companies that run the services, utilities, and software that also keep the market humming. So Boaz Gelboard, Chief Security Officer at security firm Akamai Technologies. For these suppliers, cyber standards are often imposed informally by large customers rather than by government rules. Ooh, isn't that damning? Didn't I not say that on Thursday? Didn't I say I had a question with regard to the CFTC's governance over third parties and potentially CME Group and their trading platform? What's this guy saying? Major security firm in a Wall Street Journal article. You got to love it. See, guys, I say this stuff and people think, well, what does he really know? Everything I said Thursday is in these reports. So now you know, yeah, Rob probably was a cybersecurity professional. But also in another video, separate from CFTC videos, the one on Twitter where there's an impersonation attack, I put, and it's up there, it's a freebie on our free channel maybe a couple of weeks ago. I put up there my qualifications. I put up my my diplomas, including my Norwich one, and my induction into the Honor Society for Computing Professionals. I had a 3.95 GPA at my master's level, and my information assurance program at Norwich, which is basically like cybersecurity, and my concentration was in digital forensics and incident response. So my concentration, which I got a 3.95 GPA and a master's level, is at what? This exact thing, incident response and digital forensics. So I know my stuff. I know my stuff, and I was right. And I love it. I love it how other people are saying the same things. All right, last quote from this Wall Street Journal article. A lot of improvements that are coming from a cybersecurity perspective in these second and third order providers, meaning ION, are being driven by the primary regulated entity, meaning the CFTC, which is actually the regulator, or CME Group, which runs the markets, which is the regulated entity. They cascade things downwards, meaning it's not as good once you move off of the CME Group and get to these other third providers. Oh, Reuters has it. Euronext? Is that in the US? Is this a US only thing? Euronext? From London and Paris. Reuters by Harry Robertson and Gus Trumpis. Exchange operator Euronext has postponed until further notice a weekly report on positions held in its commodity derivatives as disruption caused by a ransomware attack on financial data firm ION Group continued. You mean this is affecting the European market, but it's not the CFTC says that's not a big deal, except for the Euronext says it is, and they're not in the US. Euronext, which is enx.pa, if you guys want to trade it, not saying you should, but that's who it is, whose wheat futures are a price benchmark for the European grain sector. The European grain sector said a problem with a third-party software provider that occurred on January 31st prevented some market participants from reporting daily positions for February 3rd. It did not name a provider, but January 3rd matches the date when ION reported a cyber attack at ION Markets UK cleared derivatives division. The attack, for which hacking group Lockbit claimed responsibility, affected ION customers, including brokerages, hedge funds, and some of the world's biggest banks. You don't think that this affecting the world's biggest banks' trading desks, it is not going to affect the banking sector? So now Euronext is making a connection to the European grain market and the worldwide banking sector. At least your trading desk, but what other derivatives or debt-based positions could be based off of these markets that could affect the bank balance sheets and their solvency? At a time, which we're going to show you a video in which the FDIC is questioning the bank solvency in the US. We'll show you that later. This could affect bank solvency. You don't think this is big, that it's affecting the European grain market, that it could be affecting banks who trade on this? Oh, it's not a big deal. Don't worry. The CFTC says it's not a big deal, guys. It's okay. We got it under control. Really? Euronext, which usually issues its COT report on Wednesdays for positions held the previous week because the CFTC does Tuesdays, initially announced on Wednesday its latest publication would be delayed until February 10th, as the latest a small number of participants could not split positions. An updated message on its website said the report was postponed until further notice. CFTC, do you need to tell us that your report is postponed until further notice, just like Euronext just did through Reuters? There were signs that wider disruption was easing on Thursday as ION tried to get its clients back up and running. A separate person with knowledge of the matter, Reuters is not saying who, at another institution said ION had told clients to restore connectivity to its clearing system XTP, meaning ION users could start to clear internal business backlogs. ION said on Tuesday it started to get some clients back online, and that aligns with what we saw in other reports. Almost among those likely to have been affected by ION, this is reported by Reuters, I'm reading from the article, were Dutch bank ABN AMRO's clearing unit and Intesa Sanpaolo, Italy's largest bank by assets, according to messages to clients seen by Reuters next week. Italy's largest bank by assets and ABN AMRO. No, those are not big banks. Don't worry about this. It's not a big deal. Why? The CFTC said it wasn't. Just read their press release and don't worry about all this extra stuff. Go to sleep at night. It's okay, guys. Don't worry about it. You need to worry about it. It's all good, baby. Because the CFTC told us so. We can trust our government institutions, can't we? All right. Oh, listen to this quote from Intesa Sanpaolo's spokesperson. Italy's largest bank by assets, but it's not a big deal. Don't worry. They're just having their spokesperson issue a message. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. With regard to the ION Group cyber incident, we promptly adopted measures to avoid fully suspending activities related to exchange trade derivative segment. Most operations have now been restored. We also immediately carried out security checks to protect our client, ensure that their own systems were free of contagion. That's an admission from the largest bank in Italy by assets that this may not stop at ION, which is something I said last Thursday. Contagion. What is contagion? It means spread. The largest bank by assets in Italy is accounting for the possibility that I did last Thursday that this could have spread. Why? Because one of the top two factors in ransomware and financial markets is leveraging the digital transformation and going to downstream partners, customers, clients, third-party fintech firms. This is an acknowledgement by a spokesperson of Intesa Sanpaolo, which according to this Reuters article is Italy's largest bank by assets, that they're accounting for the fact that there could be contagion. Of course there could be. As a security professional, that's your job. Do we know that there is? No, I'm not reporting that there is. But now you know I'm not crazy, because a spokesperson for the largest bank in Italy by assets said the same thing in a Reuters article. Thank you very much. I love it when guys confirm what I said a week ago or a few days ago. Some base metals have reported experiencing delays on the London Metals Exchange. Wait, so we had Euronext, we had the banks, we have the LME is affected now, but CFTC said it's okay. It's mitigated, not a big deal. Except for that's not what everybody else is saying. Lockbit said last week in a ransom that the ransom had been paid. That's the second or third resource I've seen that have said it's been paid, even though ION has not come out and said it. This is now the third outlet that's saying it's been paid. ION declined to comment, but this has been reported in 3 different places. So I'm just assuming it's been paid. Now, all of those industry publications be wrong, but again, fair use, I'm just reporting on what they've reported. Fair use, fair use, fair use. And of course, Bill of Rights, us talking about it in a town hall format is what we're doing. So we think what we're doing here is responsible and ethical and legal. ION brings client back online. Another Reuters article. We don't need to go over that one. American banker. Ransomware attack on ION trading shows market vulnerability hackers. So apparently the banking sector is worried about this in America. Of course, we always saw it worried about it overseas. Well, what about the American bankers? Well, here's an article from a rag appropriately entitled American Banker. So apparently the American banking industry is paying attention. But don't worry, guys, because the CFTC said it's been mitigated. It's okay. Don't worry about this other article by Reuters and Wall Street Journal and the UK's National Cybersecurity Center, because it's okay. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be nice. In a rare case of ransomware attack, bringing down a segment of the financial services industry, a major derivatives software provider fell victim to Russia-linked ransomware group last week, and its trading systems only came back online after the threat actor said the company paid the ransom. Again, fourth confirming resource that ION paid the ransom. Ransomware's group Lockbit's attack against ION Group's clear derivative division affected global markets, prompting statements from the Futures Industry Association. Right there, we got that one. A trade organization for futures, options, and essentially cleared derivatives markets, and the Commodities Future Trading Commission. We got that one, covered it. ION confirmed the event in a January 31 statement saying it was contained to a specific environment, except for maybe it wasn't, because we see all these different markets affected. Here's energy, here's currencies, here's metals, blah, 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 coffee, food. Hey guys, but don't worry about it. Not a biggie. Well, it's funny when you go looking at the CFTC's website about data, you come across this page, market and economic analysis data at CFTC. I just clicked here. There's commitment of traders, same page, data. Wow, look at that. Let's read this little blurb. The Commodities Future Trading Commission relies on data collected from market participants to conduct all of its mission functions, from market oversight, monitoring, liquidity, and systemic risk, oversight of market participants, regulatory compliance, and enforcement of the CEA. What? Hold on. So I have been asking the question, does the CFTC have a direct feed into Globex and the CME Group's markets so that they can use that data to validate what their market participants is telling them? And they're like anti-spoofing and other stuff that Matthew Hunter and I talked about at Silver Symposium. And he held himself out as being one of the gentlemen who led that investigation division at the CFTC. Led his own presentation. I had a separate interview with him at Silver Symposium last year. It's on my channel. A couple of months ago, we talked about that. And he said, when they look at spoofing data, they have a data set. And he worked for the CFTC. So right here on the CFTC's front page, let me read this again. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission relies on, listen to the wording, relies, meaning they don't have their own separate data, on data collected from market participants. If the CFTC, the regulator, is relying on data from the market participants, is that the fox watching the hen house? But what? Yeah, I understand. Let me make sure I have sound. You guys heard that. Yeah, you got sound. I'm playing this back in real time. There's a little bit of delay on YouTube. And you just heard what I said. Go back and look at it again. The CFTC relies, meaning, does that mean the spoofing, anti-spoofing, and trading according to the rules, and the enforcement divisions and the investigation division at CFTC relies on the market participants' data to catch market participants? Am I reading that wrong? I'm reading it right off their website. If I'm making an erroneous assumption, CFTC, CME Group, anybody, Matthew Hunter, please email me, robert@goldsilverpros.com, because it says on your website you rely on that, but you're policing them. So where along the way do you get your independent validation as the regulator for these markets? Where do you, CFTC, get your independent validation for the market traders so that you can do your normal investigative activities, as well as having a golden source of data to restore for your BCP-DR plan, business continuity disaster recovery, in the event of an attack on one of these market participants or these third-party data firms? Is the CFTC exercising proper governance over the data and exercising due care over the data as it's charged with in the regulation creating it? Or is it allowing the prisons to run, the inmates to run the prison? I don't know. Look at what it says. The CFTC, that's right off their website. You got the URL, cftc.gov/data. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission relies on data collected from market participants to collect all of its mission functions. That would seem to include the review of spoofing and things like that from their enforcement and investigative divisions that Matthew Hunter purported to be part of, including market oversight, monitoring for liquidity and systemic risk, oversight of market participant. Wait, hold on. The CFTC relies on data collected from market participants for oversight of market participants. What? Relies on data collected from market participants for oversight of market. That has to be a misprint. What? No, you can't do that. What? That has to be a misprint. So down here at the bottom, and I'm not trying to create, it's on their website. I am 100% not trying to create work for this poor woman. But down here at the bottom, the director and chief data officer of the CFTC on their website is Tamara Roust. Her email address is cdo@cftc.gov. I'm sure that's not her personal, it's a mailbox, and there's somebody monitoring that, her or her people. And here's the number for that group, the data group at CFTC, 202-418-5000. I'm only doing it because it's on their website. As you can see on the screen, if you're listening to the podcast, it's on the screen. They're advertising it. I'm not trying to get people to rush to call her. It's there. And I want you to ask the question, this first paragraph. Why does the CFTC as the regulator rely on data collected from market participants to do all of its mission functions, including market oversight of marketing, monitoring for liquidity, systemic risk, regulatory compliance, and enforcement of the CEA, the act that created this? The market participants are providing the data for the CFTC to monitor regulation of the market participants with congressional law. Is that proper oversight by the CFTC of market participants? Is the fox guarding the hen house or the prison or the inmates running the prison? I don't know. It's on their webpage. I want clarification. Robert@goldsilverpros.com. CFTC or CME Group or somebody reach out to me with that answer, preferably CFTC or the regulator. Anybody, please. Anybody else in the market that understands this, please tell me this is a misprint. Please, for the love of everything honest and transparent in these United States, this is a misprint. It does say it does use data source from various market data providers. So maybe they're getting independent data there. But that's not what they say here. It's really confusing. And there's no data flow diagram. And they're not telling us in the cyber attack why one fintech provider, third party, Ion, has stopped reporting for all of these different reports. And the entire world is now writing about it. And that the UK's National Cybersecurity Center is also now involved. Wall Street Journal, Euronext, banks, foreign banks, American banks are all worried about this. Is it not an issue? If you want to know where the background is in the Federal Register. This is the Federal Register. It was linked off of the CFTC's website. Somewhere on here on the CFTC's website is a link to, I guess, the enabling legislation, the printed legislation that gives CFTC its authorities. This has to do with rules regarding physical commodity swaps. And this is a specific type of trade, but this is linked on their website, so I just want to read it. The Commission is adopting reporting regulations that require physical commodity swap and swaption reports. These new regulations require routine position reports from clearing organizations, clearing members, and swap dealers, and also apply to reportable positions. It is not saying here whether the CFTC is going straight to the market, the market overseers, the CME Group, the providers of the trade platform, or wherever, but shall be effective September 2011. On November 2nd, 2010, the Commission proposed reporting rules that, in addition to establishing record-keeping requirements, require routine swap position reports from clearing organizations, clearing members, and swap dealers, and apply non-routine reporting requirements to large swap traders. The reporting rules, as finalized and adopted herein, will allow the Commission to administer its regulatory responsibilities under the CEA, the Commodity Exchange Act, by implementing and conducting enough effective surveillance and economically equivalent physical commodity futures, options, and swaps. The reporting rules will directly support the Commission's transparency initiatives, as its dissemination of commitment to trader index investment data reports will allow the Commission to monitor compliance with the trading requirements of the Act. Why, ladies and gentlemen, is the legislation, or at least the rulemaking in the Federal Register, is it saying that clearing organizations, members, and swap dealers provide the data? Any other way the CFTC can get it? Is the CFTC getting it straight off the trading platform? It looks like they're enabled here to do it. I don't know why they're not doing it. What about Globex? Well, CME's involved here. This is a reference guide to Globex. And what is Globex? The CME Globex trading platform provides trading opportunities on the world's most diverse array of futures and options on futures products to customers around the world nearly 24 hours a day. As the world's leading and most diverse derivatives marketplace, CME Group is where the world comes to manage risk. Boy, CME Group, you may want to change your wording because you just said you're the most important derivatives marketplace in the world, and it's where they go to manage risk, but apparently not cyber risk. Now, the cyber breach wasn't CME Group, to be fair, but could the CME Group be doing more to help the CFTC? Probably. Is that CME Group's fault or CFTC's? I don't know. I wasn't part of those conversations. But that's who the CME Group is. All this stuff. Okay. The CME Globex platform was the first and remains among the fastest global electronic trading system for futures and options. Through its advanced functionality, high reliability, and global connectivity, is now the world's premier marketplace for derivatives trading. CME Globex gives you access to the broadest array of futures and options products available on any exchange, virtually around the clock from anywhere in the world. Performance and speed, diverse innovative products, open access and direct participation. CME Group electronic markets are among the most liquid in the world, enabling customers to choose from a wide range of products and thousands of possible expressions and spreads. In addition to a single point of connection, customers who trade CME, CBOT, NYMEX, and COMEX futures and options enjoy streamlined development efforts. Single source for customer support. Global access to all your major asset classes from a single platform. One down. Let me use the page down button. All these products, metals products, Forex products, which is money and currency, group equity, interest rate products, agricultural products, energy, it's all here. Accessing the program, an open architecture that easily accommodates changing markets, new customers, new products. Why doesn't CFTC just get it straight from the CME Group? Maybe they do. They say they have it here. They have the order routing interface link. They have the market data platform, CME Direct, CME Group Logon, Kill Switch, all these tools. FirmSoft, browser-based management tool that provides real-time visibility and access to working and filled orders and multiple firm IDs. Can you use that, CFTC? Risk management interface. It's all there on Globex. There you go. Order entry, order modification, order cancellation. It's all there. Here's the CFTC talking about the reporting requirements. Here it is in the Federal Register. Sorry, Code of Federal Regulation. Sorry, it's been a long presentation. They're talking about swap transactions, but the rules are here. They're here too. And then if you want to see the act which prohibits the CFTC or anybody else from showing you line level transactions, individual transactions, which is why we don't get them on the COT report, that is also a part here of the Federal Register. Federal Register, delegations of authority to disclose confidential information, a proposed rule by the CFTC on 3/3/2010 by the CFTC. The CFTC wants to make those transactions private. Section 8 of the Commodities Exchange Act prohibits the Commission from disclosing it, well, in line with the CEA, to be fair. Let me read from that. Section 8A of the Commodities Exchange Act prohibits the Commission from disclosing information that was separately disclosed, the business transaction and market participation of positions of any person or trade secrets or names of customers. Despite this general prohibition, the CEA recognizes the need to share confidential information with registered entities and certain other self-regulatory bodies under specified circumstances. I would think CFTC would be one of them. So there you go. A lot more information, ladies and gentlemen, on that. That was over an hour of reporting on what's going on. Woo, that's a lot. My goodness gracious. Let's summarize. The whole world thinks this is an issue. The CFTC and ION are trying to play it down. And I think that's fair because I've shown enough resources. We've talked now in this video about confidentiality, integrity, and accessibility. I'm sorry, availability or accessibility, but availability, CIA triad, which is an industry standard framework for cybersecurity and other industry professionals to determine, to classify and to exercise investigations over breaches. We need to make sure the information has remained confidential. Something's not been exposed. The information wasn't changed. It maintains integrity. And then it's also available. The only reports we're seeing from CFTC and ION has to do with availability. We're not seeing anything on integrity or confidentiality. I brought it up on Thursday's video. I'm bringing it up again. How do we know that these guys, if they got through all of these controls, network controls and other controls to get inside ION and establish ransomware there, who's to say they couldn't have copied the data and given it to someone else? Who's to say that they haven't changed the data because they controlled it? When you, according to several publications, it was a typical ransomware where it's encrypted and they give a key. So if they'd encrypted it, maybe they had changed it while they encrypted it or in the process of encrypting it or before they encrypted it. And so maybe they gave the key to the CFTC, but maybe some nuggets have been left in there, some Easter eggs. And so that's why it's taking so long for the CFTC and ION to produce that data, because they're having to go back and say, this is real trade data. And think about the 24th report, which I put up on the screen. If the incident was reported on the 31st, we know that most incidents in cybersecurity, not all of them, but most incidents will occur from anywhere from 6 months to 2 years before we figure it out. So how long had Lockbit and or other actors been in ION's data before that? Had they changed it before? Or any of the CFTC's reports valid? Is that part of the governance process of CFTC? We've questioned the CFTC's governance because we saw on their own webpage attestation that they used the market participants data to do oversight of market participants. And they may also use some other data, but they're not clear, and it's really weird. And it looks like maybe the fox guarding the hen house or the inmates running the asylum there or the guards of derivatives markets, but that's unclear. But that's a concern. I said it was a concern Thursday. It's obviously, given the language on the CFTC's website, a concern. And I think that everybody, not everybody, please don't flood this poor lady in her office, but enough people need to, news agencies, concerned citizens, keep it to a small but concerned number. Please don't overwhelm CFTC. Not advocating that. But please go to that data division. I showed you those details online. They're online, CFTC, you can find them on the data division and reach out to those people and say, what are your processes and procedures? I'll send an email to them and let you know if they respond. I haven't yet, to be fair. I'm still researching it. I'll reach out to them and do an update if they respond or don't respond. But I have a concern there. There's lots of concerns. And you saw the UK's National Cyber Defense get involved. You saw the Wall Street Journal get involved. You saw international cyber experts get involved. You saw international banks have an opinion. You saw Euronext and other traders, commodity markets and professional trading industry organizations express a concern. I don't think that the reporting from ION and CFTC is helping to alleviate those concerns. I will say this, we need to give time for the cybersecurity investigators, information security professionals everywhere involved in this to do research. So we do need time for these details to come out. But at the same time, it's okay for us as citizens and people to talk about this because it affects us. These things are things that we buy every day. And by extension, it affects the things the whole world buys every day. And by extension, it affects banks' balance sheets and things like that in terms of their derivative positions and their solvency and liquidity. at a time when the FDIC has questions about whether the U.S. banks are solvent at least. We saw a question from American Banker online magazine talking about it. There are some concerns here. I'm not blowing this up to be more than what it is. I think we're just covering what is potentially a major, major issue. And I think that this additional stories and data that I provided to you today edifies that. And again, I put it up all on screen for you. This time I didn't do a presentation. I was researching up until the last minute, so I didn't do a PowerPoint, but I did. You can screen print various parts or keywords of the presentation, or look at the URLs, because I had them there for you, and you can go do your own research. All legitimate. Okay, so my disclaimer is I can only report what's being reported, but I've got fair use of it according to U.S. code that allows us to do that. And we're allowed to do this Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, and freedom to assembly. We're just meeting, talking about this as concerned citizens. Also, because we pay taxes and we pay for the infrastructure and the regulation, the CFTC needs to answer to the citizens. And so hopefully they will do that. And we need to give them time. They have put out 2 press releases, which is understood, but they need to put out more. And then not only about what happened at ION, but about their governance of the data flows, how that all works, and how maybe that could be improved. And I think there's definitely a large room for improvement. And we saw the opinion of somebody who used to work for 2 major banks, who's now working with a third-party firm as a security expert, say, yes, this is an issue with third parties and downstream users and providers of data. And most of the information security, authentication, authorization type controls that may exist at a parent company, those controls don't necessarily get pushed down to third parties and things because they don't have the right to audit. And this is something that we talk about in my industry a lot, both audit and information security. Firms like the CFTC, CME Group, need to have a right to audit third parties that may be changing or providing data or information that's critical to operations of a market, critical to oversight by a government regulator like the CFTC. And there's sometimes things called SSAE 16 reports, or third-party audit reports. I don't know if there's one here for third-party firms to the CFTC. There may not be. We see it common in industry. Those are common things that could be utilized to provide assurance about IT general controls, security controls, information security controls, data connections, data governance, entity-level and governance controls over these third parties that I don't see mentioned here. They may be in place. I don't see them mentioned. So I think the biggest opportunity is to fix the governance from the CFTC here, I think, and then go back and figure out what data could have been compromised and how long. I think that we, the American people, need to call for a bigger inquiry into the CFTC's role, CME Group and ION and other partners, just to not assessing blame here, but just to explore more and make that public. And then to maybe potentially amend through further legislation and rulemaking of appropriate bodies, maybe in the U.S. Congress or U.S. Other regulatory divisions, whomever is appropriate, to provide additional funding for the CFTC to do this, provide additional funding for proper security controls in place through all relevant parties that either trade on or provide information to and from this market and its regulators and the platform. And further, that we need to look very closely at the CFTC's management entity-level controls and tactical controls around governance of information assurance, information security, cybersecurity of the trading data and the markets. It's their job. And if they're not getting that from the CEA, that enabling legislation, or they're not getting it from rulemaking, or they're not getting it from the budget process from Congress to give them the appropriate money or the appropriate authority, that needs to be given. So it could come down to, it's not the CFTC's fault. It could be somebody else's fault. I don't think in this case it is. But it could be that there are contributors from money and legislation which haven't given the CFTC, the full rights. We could talk about that. There's a lot of things here, but obviously this is a much bigger issue. It's all over the world. People are concerned. I'm not making a mountain out of a molehill here. I'm just reporting what I see, and I think this is a huge issue because I have a cybersecurity background and a little bit of a financial background. More audit or cybersecurity, but I've watched markets and I've traded as an investor, and we talk about them. I think I'm kind of uniquely qualified to kind of carry this, but I'd like to see some big time industry experts get in here and weigh in as well. I think this is such a big potential issue that a lot of people need to get in. All right, we're going to read the poll results, and we're going to end up, because we've been going for an hour and 15. The poll I put up at the beginning, we've got 138 votes, Who is ultimately responsible for the security breach at ION regarding commodities trading data? According to votes in the YouTube poll, which is going to disappear after this presentation, so you have to be in the chat to see it. But I had 4 choices. ION got 22% of the vote as to who's ultimately responsible for a security breach. The CFTC got 14, CME Group got 3, and the all of the above, all of them, is 61%. We're going to end the poll there. Thank you guys, 138 votes. Thank you everybody for participating in this presentation, being a part of it, following me on the channel. And at the end of the day, my disclaimer is just an interested citizen who has background in these areas, trying to provide credible evidence and commentary on this, utilizing fair use and the Bill of Rights to provide this information to you guys, not trying to provide inaccurate information. I've sourced everything where I can. And if the parts which have been speculative where we need additional questions, I've talked about that now in 2 videos very explicitly. So I think this has been covered in a way in which is responsible, safe for everybody involved. Thank you everybody for participating in this one. This has been Rob Keats, Gold, Silver Pros. As a reminder, stay on the channel for those other reports I've talked about. And we're going to change our live streams, we think, to 1 or 2 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays now. So you guys that see this at night, remember we'll start doing this during the day so that we can bring in people from around the world that do follow us as well. And then we'll still have our Thursday night premieres for our non-live segments that we do as well. And stay tuned for this channel for more on the gold, silver markets, the commodities markets, the economy, and more that we report on. Until next time, Rob Keats, goldsilverpros.com.